So the next question. So we talked about, strengths and question marks, but ultimately we want to see a 49er victory. So Rohan, give us what you believe the 49ers path to victory is um, in this week 1 matchup with the Bears.
Yeah, so I mean, the path to victory obviously starts with the defense.
So your video is off. I don't know if you turned it off. We could hear you,
Yeah.
but
Oh, okay. I'll get it on in a minute, but
okay.
the path to victory is definitely starting with the defense. When you talk about the defense overall, you got to go obviously with how the defense was last year. A top 3 defense in yards allowed, right? Overall, the yards allowed was a big factor for the 49ers last year. And I understand the penalties, but even with that, you're a top 10 defense overall. Now, with a revamped secondary, with a kind of you continue with those linebackers, improve the defensive line overall, you've got better depth. You should be able to come out week 1 swinging, and I think that that's going to be a big thing. What about you?
So I like Ritty Music says penalties on the O-line. Yep, no mistakes. I like Fernando saying win turnover battle with battle of time possession. And I want to kind of piggyback off of what Fernando just said. For me, it is the 49ers dictating the way this game plays. And how they do that is by running the ball, right? If they can dictate the time of possession and continue to move the ball and end those drives with touchdowns instead of field goals or punts, what I think that does, Rohan, is then makes the Bears a very one-dimensional team where they have to play catch-up, air the ball out, and now you're playing into the strength of the 49ers, which is the strength of the 49ers defense, which is the pass rush and those cornerbacks, right? Especially because Justin Fields doesn't have much talent to even throw the ball to, right? Outside of Mooney and maybe Komet, there's not really proven receivers there. Like we're talking about Dante Pettis being on there. Pringle, I think, has some talent, but he's somebody who was a backup for Kansas City. Was brought over. He's going to have some opportunity. But for me, I really want to see the 49ers. When you see the stat line, you see like 7, 7, 7, 7. Right? Each quarter they were able to score some kind of points versus what we saw last year, which was like 0, 7 that were 3 like that was scored in the last 2 minutes of the second half, and then 7 and 10 or whatever for them to end up winning the game. I think the path to victory is run the ball, dictate the time of possession, score to force the Bears to become a one-dimensional offense, and I think that's going to be rinse and repeat, Rohan, for the whole season. If they could force the opposing team's offense to be one-dimensional where they can't balance the run and pass and have to turn into a pass-heavy offense, for me, that's where this defense is going to be able to shine, create turnovers, create sacks, and really make it a tough night out for any offense.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and I think that like maintaining continuity is good. I do expect it's hard, right? Because sometimes you expect the offense to wane when if you're leading by 20 points in the second half, you're going to run the football a lot more consistently, which decreases the amount of chances you get to score by slowing down the clock. But if the 49ers, I don't care necessarily as much about the time of possession metric, but if it feels as if the 49ers are in control of the game, like the pace of the game, then I think that the 49ers will be favored in this game, especially if they continue to outplay the Bears in the trenches.
Yeah, I mean, I think the line is going to be in favor of the 49ers overall. I think they just have a way
Yeah.
better roster from top to bottom. I just want to know because this is like a big deal, and I don't think a lot of people are on it as heavy as I am, Rowan. So I do want to get your opinion. How important is it that this 49er team isn't a stagnant offense? And what I mean by that is a team that only scores in the second half. Even when we saw, the best game that we saw of Trey Lance against Houston, a lot of those points came in the second half as well. Like, how important is it that this team can be consistent and score in the first half of games as well?
Now, I don't care if you score 21, 7, 0, and 10. Like, I don't care if as long as the points are pretty high. But I do think that it is important to start off strong. The 49ers have shown a tendency not to start off strong. And the reason being, let's say you're down 7-0, becomes 14-0, you're more inclined maybe to get away from your original offensive game plan, which could have been running the football 45 times, and then revert to something different, placing more pressure on Trey Lance to obviously compete and to obviously produce early on. And so to me, I think it's important to start the gate running, not only for the 49ers' sake in keeping control of this game, but for Trey Lance as well.
And I agree with you completely. And the reason why I think it's such a big deal, Rohan, is because I want Trey to have as much opportunity to succeed as possible. And keeping the game the way that it's scripted or full playbook there and giving all opportunity to still be able to utilize the run, I think is the way to keep him as successful. If we have to depend on Trey Lance to air the ball out 30 times, 35, 40 times, he's never had to do that any time in his football career. He didn't do that in high school. He didn't do that in college. He's definitely not done that in the NFL. I think if we end up in a position where we have to play catch up with Trey Lance at quarterback, now we're looking at a very dangerous situation where, once again, it's the defense having to bend, not break type of thing and keep the scoreboard low as much as possible. And I just don't want to get into that type of situation. I would much rather it be that, that we're going blow for blow, or at least, keeping the game close till the team can separate.
Yeah, agreed.